Hello, friends. Today, I want to talk to you about the phenomenon of control or the phenomenon of leading, phenomenon of uh, supervising, monitoring, managing, whatever relationship you are in. So, here the relationship word entails a partnership between two individuals, two entities. So, it can be the relationship between the husband and wife, it can be the relationship between brother and another brother, it can be the relationship between the boss and the subordinate, it can be any interaction where two parties are involved, and sometimes it can be two entities, like you can say in US a relationship between the Democrats and the Republicans. So there are two ideologies, mindsets, entities, individuals who are interacting with each other. So there's always going to be an upper hand and a lower hand. Just like in the Brahman, there is Prakriti and Purush. The Prakriti is the doer, the Purush is the witnesser. So the concept of upper hand is of course a right wing concept, because in a left world everybody is equal, no child left behind, participation trophy, there are no losers. So but in real world there are differences and there are hierarchies and there are leaders and followers, there are individuals who control and individuals who get controlled. So let's understand the three basic principles that govern, define what creates a person in control in a relationship, or as I said, in a government or in a two faction setup. So we typically think about the two forces as dominant and submissive. The feminine is the yin, which is the submissive, and yang is the dominant force, which is uh, thought to be the male force. Similarly, in Prakriti and Purush, you will say Purush is the male form, which does not do anything very conspicuously, but controls the Prakriti. Just like the nucleus at the center does not do anything, but makes the electrons around revolve in different orbits. So similarly, the male force by default is considered to be the controlling force, and that is where the problem starts. Dominant force, aka the male force, is not the controller force. The controller force depends upon three distinct criteria, which the entity has to have inherent in itself to allow itself to control the other party. These three things are: one, intensity of its action. If it's a dominant force, it is having higher degree of dominance than the submissive force is having the spirit of submission. Similarly, second point is perceived trait, which is how the other party views the first party. So if the second party views the first party's qualities as of very high quality and very perseverant and very consistently present all the time, then it is considered of high value. And anything that is of high value is always in demand. So for that reason, the individual who has these traits which are glaringly obvious to the other party, they are held in high regard, and a lot of positive vibes are created by which are being picked up by the other party, and hence the high value component is seen. And the third is, although they are needed a lot, they don't have any needs. So the power to self-control or self-restraint, as they say, with great powers come great responsibilities, and hence with and vice versa, because you have that great responsibility of continuing this dominant, submissive, or male, female, yin, yang composite together. You are very arrogant free. You are very humble, down to earth, grounded. Vidya Vinay Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini. The individual who is full of knowledge and humility, he will see everybody with samdarshita or equanimity. So the third quality is equanimity or stoicism, or having few needs. Although you are needed a lot, wanted a lot by the society, you yourself have few needs. So if the other party threatens you to leave or break the partnership, you are not perturbed by it. So the individual who is not perturbed by it cannot be controlled. That individual becomes the controller. So coming again to this fact, consider the art of bhakti yoga, devotion. In this, we are trying to dissolve our ego to melt into the higher, better version of ourselves, which is the Ishta Devta or the Brahman. In that case, we are the feminine force, because the feminine force is what is malleable, which is flexible, which is foldable, and which will change over time, adaptable. Whereas the dominant forces are considered the ones which are very strict, stringent, stubborn. So in Bhakti Yoga, we are melting ourselves into the Ishta Devta. So the Ishta Devta is naturally the dominant force there, but it itself makes accommodations for allowing us to be involved and be interjected in the quality of Ishta Devta. That's why if you are doing a lot of Hanuman Chalisa, you will start getting the qualities of Hanuman in you. Those are the benefits of dissipation of the qualities from the dominant to the submissive force. But although in Bhakti Yoga, we are surrendering our ego because we want to be the higher, better version, because of natural love towards that version, because of natural holding that individual in higher regard, we ourselves are melting into it, and hence the dominant and submissive are becoming one. The Dvait has become Advait. The duality has disappeared into the singularity, the monolithic Brahman. That is how the inferior or the lower subordinate component can become the higher component, because there's only one component. So they cannot be a higher or lower. But the point I'm trying to make here is that dominant does not have to be the controller. The controller is what is the one which has those three traits: higher intensity of its qualities, higher perceived intensity or market value, the value component, how much it is needed, desired by the other individual, and third, ability to restrain yourself. So that although you have perceived, a lot of people are perceiving you as very wanted, you yourself have very few needs. So higher intensity, higher perceived intensity, and higher restraint. Although you are wanted a lot by other individuals, you yourself have no needs. So that person cannot blackmail you, threaten you, vindicate you in any regard, because you do not allow the emotional blackmailing to happen. Because anytime you have an object of desire, once you attain that object, you become very satisfied transiently. Human beings have enormous ability to take things for granted. So that thing becomes from a luxury to a basic necessity once you have obtained it. Now, when that thing will depart from you because you are attached to it, you will start feeling the cravings. You will start feeling the senses withdrawing, the mind getting perturbed, the intellect getting bewildered. Because indriyani manobuddhirasya adhishtan muchyate etar vimamtesh gyanmavitya dehinam. The senses, mind and buddhi are the three breeding grounds of desire, and desire is the number one enemy of the jnana or the knowledge. So because you are attached to that object, now if that is taken away, you will start craving, you will start withdrawing, you will start having mind racing, you will start having loss of rationality of thought, what is right knowledge. That is where the buddhi gets cancerous. So because of that, you are in a state of addiction. So all attachments, if left unchecked, uncontrolled, will become addictions, and all addictions at some point or the other will create withdrawal cravings, and withdrawal cravings are what leads to perpetual misery in life. Jam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukh Doshanu Darshanam, the four perpetual damages of biological life are birth, death, old age and disease, is because we are attached to this body. If we are not attached to the body, then these expressions of misery are not going to perturb us that much, because we know it's temporary. So why should you lament about something that is temporary? Anyways, so to sum it up, my friends, in any partnership of two individuals, there is a dominant individual and a submissive individual. But does not mean that the submissive individual cannot be the controller. The submissive individual can be the controller. Prakriti sometimes controls the Purush. That's why we are reincarnating. We are Purush, but we are under the control of Prakriti. Beautiful example. Dominant force sometimes gets controlled by submissive force. Submissive force can very well control dominant force. Under what circumstances? Three circumstances. The intensity of whatever talent, quality, natural instinct that it has is higher than the other individual. Second, the perceived value is more because it is such a pure natural trait that everybody desires it. And although everybody desires it, that individual who has that trait doesn't desire anything. So you cannot negatively interact with it or damage it or destroy it emotionally because it doesn't have any attachments. And this need, this desire, this craving that, oh, he's so good, we want him, that creates a dependency, the attachment. And attachment, when it becomes pathologic, becomes addiction. And every addiction will withdraw at some point or the other. So knowing those three traits, you can become controller. Does not mean that controller has a very easy life. Controller does not have an easy life. With great powers come great responsibility. If you're a controller, you have to be very humble. Then only you can remain controller. Then only you can be the leader. Then only you can run the system, your family, society, your corporate business the right way, because you have to be humble. Then only Jnana will remain with you. Vidya, Vinay. Vidya and Vinay go together. Humility has to be there. And hence, sense of gratitude has to be there. So my friends, try to develop those three qualities: high intensity, high perceived intensity, and restraint, stoicism or equanimity. If you have these three qualities, you will be very successful in life. You will be a born leader, a natural talent that everybody will appreciate, and remain humble during the course of your journey of evolution in the spiritual life. Jai Shri Ram.